Hey guys, it's Shauna with SA Artistry, and today I will be giving y'all a soft glam look. I know a couple girls have been asking about it. I did a story post, suggesting either everyday or full glam. I am going to eventually do the full glam look for y'all, but today we're doing a soft glam beat. So I'm here to give y'all what y'all been asking for.
So after cleansing my face, I apply a light moisturizer. This one is by Farmacy. I believe you can find it at Sephora. It's very lightweight, so it doesn't leave my skin feeling oily, and it lays beautifully under the makeup. It is a bit of an investment, but I would 100% recommend it. Please remember to take your time when prepping your skin for your foundation. This base will determine how smooth your application will be. Basically, moisturizing and priming is pretty much going to be the foundation for the foundation. So however that is pretty much the determinant of how good your foundation will look. Here I am going in with my One Size Blurring Primer by Starr. Y'all, I love this primer. When I say it gives what it's supposed to have gave, like the blurring be blurring. Alright, the only other primer I've had that's similar to this one is the Farmacy, and I don't even think they sell it no more, unfortunately. So you're just going to want to work that primer into the skin. If you have oily skin, I would suggest, especially like the areas that get really oily, just putting a little extra there just so that the foundation can really lay and stay. Here I'll be using Maybelline, I think it's the matte Poreless in the shade 334, which is I think warm sand. It's funny because on my clients I use nothing but NARS. On myself I'm like drugstore foundation all the way. But I use a contour brush by Sephora to buff that into my skin, just lightly kind of tapping but also sweeping a little bit, not too much, so you don't want to create long lines on your face. Do not, I repeat, do not forget to blend the foundation into your ears and neck. By doing this, it creates a seamless look when seeing the transition from your makeup to your normal skin. So you don't want to have any cutoff points where it's like, all right, I see where the makeup starts and I can see where her skin is, you know? So blend that all together. Sometimes, depending on how heavy I want the makeup to look or the glam that I'm going for, I will use two foundations. One that's a little bit lighter in the center of my face, and then one that may be either my skin tone or a bit darker on the outer sides of my face. That just kind of, it's not necessary, but you know, if you're going for that type of look, that's fine. As I mentioned before, I know I like to use the Maybelline over the NARS foundation. It's not that I like it more, it's more that this is a lighter foundation for me. So it's not so heavy and I don't have to feel like I have on kind of like a mask for the day. So that's pretty much why I prefer Maybelline over the NARS on a regular day. Yeah, I was trying to like keep myself from dancing. I had Alexa going in the background. But now I'm just going to take a damp beauty blender. This one is by Juno & Co. And I just lightly tap around my face to remove any excess foundation and then pretty much blend it all together. So here I am using a Too Faced concealer in the shade Spice Rum. I'm using a Morphe flat concealer brush to basically carve out my cheeks. I'm going in like this upward motion, and it kind of, like, you see where it kind of goes diagonal. That's pretty much how I create the shape, because I don't have defined cheeks, so that's how I create my shape. And here I'm putting that same shade on my jawline. I don't really do this for contouring necessarily because I already have a defined jawline, more so for the shadows and shade. And it's time for blending. So I use a contour brush. This one's by e.l.f. And I just use it in a sweeping motion. I sweep towards my hairline and kind of up. So that's pretty much the method to the madness. You just sweep up, blend it out, and boom. You're also going to want to work that into the jawline, just sweeping and blending that out just for a flawless and seamless application. And now I'm going to switch brushes. I switched over to the Sephora contour brush that we use for our foundation, and just going to clean up those lines, blend it out. We don't want any harsh lines. Now using my Too Faced concealer in the shade Cookie, I'll be going in with my highlight. So I'm going to drag my highlight all the way up into my hairline. I do this mainly just because I have already what I would consider a long face. I don't want to make my face look any longer by bringing my concealer down too much. So I take it just where I want it to end and then pull up to my hairline. So for my chin and forehead area, I typically like to go in with a warmer concealer. So I'm going in with the shade Butterscotch. That keeps it from looking white or ashy looking. I don't want that. I don't want to look casket sharp. I'm trying to give skin, not dead. I'm taking a clean, damp beauty blender by Real Techniques and just blending that out. You want to just lightly tap it. If you tap too hard on your face or you're banging the beauty blender on your face, it's not going to do anything but remove the product. So it's going to pretty much look like you didn't even apply it in the first place. And nobody wants to waste product like that. So just lightly tap and blend out. So now I'm going to switch over to my Real Techniques setting powder brush, and I'm using this as a buffer brush instead, where I'm just blending this into the foundation, getting rid of all those harsh lines or anywhere you can see where the concealer starts and ends, just blending that in and making sure that you really can't tell where it starts and stops. I had to go back in with some more of that concealer just to add some more color because I felt like I either lifted too much product or I let it dry down a little bit too long and it wouldn't move. I could have honestly just put a hydrating spray there, but I felt like I needed more product. With that same beauty blender, I'm going to go ahead and just blend out my chin, the sides of my mouth, as well as my forehead. I'm going to also switch over to the setting powder brush that I'm using as a buffer brush to blend the rest of that out as well. Now it's time to snatch this nose, honey. I'm going to use the Too Faced concealer in the shade Toffee to shape my nose and create the shape that I'm looking for. I like a really narrow nose. I have a pretty big nose tip, so it's a little harder for me to contour, so just bear with me. The brush I'm using is some kind of Morphe eye brush, and I'm basically just going down the sides, just creating that shape. I'm going back in with that same buffer brush and blending out any harshness. I could have did a little bit more blending, but it wasn't bad. Like I like a snatched nose, like I like a really defined nose, so it doesn't really bother me. For the bridge of my nose, I'm using that same Too Faced concealer in the shade Cookie, and I'm using a Morphe flat concealer brush and just dragging that down the bridge of my nose. And using that same buffer brush to blend all that out. I didn't like the way it was kind of looking at first. It was giving Caucasian. So I went in and added a little bit more of that concealer just to give me more of a back to my ethnic nose. I don't want it to be too snatched, but I want it to look snatched enough. Now this step is completely unnecessary, but I like a bright under eye, so I went in with the, I think it's Makeup Revolution in the shade 0.5, and I just added a little bit into the corners of my eye and blended that out with my beauty blender, the same beauty blender I used from earlier. That beauty blender still has product on it, so it's gonna just help all that come together easier. And you would think as long as I've been doing my own makeup, I wouldn't be blinking so much or making those funny faces, but I cannot help it. Like, I'm going to do it. Now using the Laura Mercier powder. I don't remember the color. I'll have to list in the description. But I use a clean beauty blender by Juno & Co. And I am going to set that. Also, this beauty blender is damp. None of my beauty blenders are dry. I never use a dry beauty blender. Shout out to Aaliyah J for putting me on. This is the Benefit Hoola in Caramel. It's a bronzer. I am obsessed with this bronzer. It makes your face look so warm and just so beautiful. Like, it's not, you don't need a lot of product because it is pigmented, very pigmented. So just brush that in with the e.l.f. brush, the same e.l.f. brush that you use to blend out your contour. Then I go back in with my setting powder brush and buff that in. Make sure that those ends aren't too harsh. Also, my powder creates like a barrier to keep that from looking too harsh. Now I'm just going to use a clean setting powder brush just to sweep off any of that extra powder that's left there. And now it's time for my favorite part of the makeup look, the thing that brings it all together, blush. I love blush. This is the Fenty blush. I don't remember the shade. I'll have to put it in the description, but I love this blush. Crazy because maybe a year ago, you could have asked me about blush and I would have said absolutely not. I'm not putting any blush on. Don't like blush. It's for old ladies. Blush is for them girls, okay? Blush is for bad bitties. I saw where some of that powder had settled in my creases, so I just went ahead and sweep that out of there, just like I did the rest of my face earlier. Now to kill these brows. I recently got my brows laminated, so I'm like super excited. This is like my first time doing my makeup since having that done. I go in with my Anastasia brow freeze, and I'm just going to use the spoolie and just brush that through. Oh my god, I love it already. If you notice, I'm taking the end of my spoolie here and I'm just going to use that to smooth that out and lay it flat onto my skin. And now I'm switching over to a clean spoolie just to finish shaping out my brows and pretty much how I'm going to lay the pomade on. Now I'm going to take my Anastasia Dip Brow pomade in the shade Dark Brown and start to carve out my brows. I'm basically just basing them off of the shape of my natural brow. I do like them a little fuller towards the end. You'll see I'll just make light strokes here to create the desired look, following the shape of my brow. And again, with that same concealer brush by Morphe, I'm going to use the shade Cookie and start to shape my brows, just cleaning them up a little bit. This is like my favorite part of doing the brows because that's when they really start to look clean and crisp. Now, using a small eye brush by It Cosmetics, I'm going to use that to buff out this concealer. And look how that just blends out so perfect. I typically don't do this step, but I wanted a bit more of an arch to my brows this time, so I decided to use the shade Butterscotch to just clean up the tail. And it's okay if your brows aren't perfect or they're not even. They are supposed to be sisters, not twins. I'm sure you've heard that before many times, but remember, don't stress yourself out about your brows. It's okay. So I'm going to use that same bronzer that I use for my cheeks on my lids. And I'm going to use that to basically carve out the shape of my brows. I wanted to go for kind of like a winged eyeshadow. And so that's what you see me doing here. Now I'm taking a pink from the Anastasia Norvina palette. That palette is so beautiful. Like, I just had to have it. I don't usually buy palettes like that, but I had to have that palette. So I'm using a Morphe brush to just pack that on, just kind of on the center of my lid, not the whole lid. Now I'm going to go into my Be Perfect Carnival palette and take the white shade. I'm not sure what the name of that shade, what the name of that color is, but I'll have it listed in the description. And I just begin to pack that on using that same brush that I packed the pink on with. Switching back over to my Norvina palette, I'm going to take that shimmery pink and begin to work that onto the center of my lid as well. I have really small lids, so every look that I do is going to have to be pretty simple. And with that same brush, I'm going to go back into the Carnival palette and bring some more of that white back into the corner of my eye. Using that same Benefit bronzer, I'm going to use a Morphe brush to smoke out my lash line and, or I guess waterline, and just make it all connect. I decided to also take that same brush I used earlier with the Benefit bronzer and put just a bit more and deepen my crease. Okay, now I'm going in with my Too Faced eyeliner. This eyeliner is amazing. Like, it's waterproof, it's all that, but it's a little too good. Like, it stays on for days and it's so hard to get off,
wake up in the morning, your eyes are burning and watering because the liner is still there and they're irritated. So it's a great liner, but it stays on a little too long. Okay, and now I'm going to use this Maybelline. I don't remember what the name of this particular mascara is, but it's a Maybelline mascara. It was like big on TikTok at one point in time. I liked it. I really like this mascara. It's really pretty. It's really black. I like it. But I think I'm going to go back to my Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. Only because it lasts longer and I get more wears out of it. I feel like with this one, I get maybe like 5 or 6 applications of mascara and then it's dried out. I hate that. But overall, it's a great mascara, especially if you're on a budget. So I went ahead and applied my lashes off camera. I love these lashes. These are actually cut in half, and that's how I've been wearing my lashes lately. I've been really into the Tati lashes, the end lashes called Side Chick. These aren't those. These came from the hair store, but I love those. And I'm taking a hair store brown liner. I think this is an eyeliner actually, and line my lips with it. Next, I'm going in with my Fenty. This is in Ballerina Blackout, one of those. And I just apply it with a little spoolie lip tool. I don't know what that's called, but you know what I'm talking about. The lip, I went in with Anastasia, the liquid lipstick in shade Naked. This is like the perfect shade if you just want to give your lips a little bit of an ombre effect. Now I'm going to set my face using the Urban Decay Ultra Matte setting spray. I love this setting spray. I've been using it for years and have yet to switch it up. After setting, I'll use that same contour brush that we use for our foundation and just blend everything all together. Now it is time for me to do my hair.